Hi, everyone. Hi.
Hi.
Hey,
Hey, I'm Matt with MovieWeb. It's a pleasure to speak with you today. This is such a fascinating peek at a subculture I had never really experienced or known much about. Um, More of a human story than anything niche specific, so entry points all around. I'm not sure who best to address this, but how and when did this begin, and when did you know it ended?
That's a good question. Has it ended? I don't know. I mean, Jack, if you want, I can just start off on that and you can
yeah,
add to
yeah.
it.
You do the origin
Yeah, I
story.
mean, so really this whole thing started with I'm a producer and I'd come to Korea to do a movie project 4 years ago. Ended up staying here a lot longer than I anticipated. Some friends in the music industry who wrote K-pop, and my daughters was into K-pop and introduced me to K-pop, and I said that this is actually just such a fascinating world that also too from a Westerner perspective we haven't really seen truly told in a real, the real sides of these artists' lives, right? And so it literally just started with personal relationships and friendships with the talent agencies and the artists themselves. And that's what led to ultimately us telling this amazing story about different artists and different companies at different levels of the K-pop hierarchy.
Anything to add?
Oh, I was just going to add that, really, truly, Brad's personal relationships with the labels and the artists is what allowed us to get the access you were referencing, Matt. And it just show a different side of K-pop and this culture. And it was a lot of time spent in person, being able to, it's approaching these artists and approaching these labels is not something you can do over just email and Zoom. You need to be there in person. And so Brad, who is in Seoul right now, this was a real, journey for him as it began, and then as we got involved from a production standpoint, 3 years of filming with these artists and labels over time, we saw huge changes happen, and that's really exciting from a documentary standpoint to see those changes happen in one season of an episode, one season of a series. Hopefully, audiences are going to come away with a better understanding of the culture if they don't know it, and for K-pop fans, a real seeing people being more vulnerable, human, and understanding what both the glitz as well as the hard work required to be part of a K-pop group.
Yeah, you say glitz. There's usually like a glossy, cute sheen over the whole culture, but this it actually reminds me more of athletics than music in many ways. It's like they're training for the Olympics, not a concert. Uh, how sort of
True.
how important do you think the music actually is to the subjects in the film versus the whole culture of it?
I mean, Elise, one of our EPs, Elise is not able to make this interview just for another because of another call, but she'd be able to speak really well to it. But I think in general, I think the 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 music is, we kind of were discussing ourselves that, from a Western perspective, the US, the level of scrutiny that these artists are under is kind of comparable to being a Hollywood celebrity as well as a sports athlete and as well as a politician all at the same time, because it's a much um uh and the competition to get to that level is extraordinarily high. But these artists love what they do, and that's why they work so hard. That's why they are emotional about the experiences and the relationships with the fans. And so for us to be able to have them be more open about all of that, it helps us all to understand them, and why we love them as characters, and we're so lucky to be able to work with them.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
Brad, anything to add, Bradley, to that?
No, I was just going to say that at the end of the day, I mean, what really appealed to me about these stories is that they're just genuine human stories, showing what people are willing to sacrifice in order to achieve their dreams in this ultra competitive, very perfectionistic industry. And so I think that, like you were talking about entry points, there are so many. And I think the key one is that we wanted to make a show where you didn't have to know anything about K-pop. You didn't even have to like K-pop. At the end of the day, these are just great human stories. And I think there's so many universal truths that we're able to touch upon in these stories that I think that's why, we hope that it's going to be appealing to a very, very, wide global audience for Apple.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, while making it or while watching footage or learning about it, uh, was there anything that sort of shocked or surprised you the most now that you had sort of lifted the curtain and seen the daily process for either of you?
I think the a couple things related to the K-pop fans. I think I was not someone who was familiar with as familiar with K-pop when we started the project, and getting to spend time with the K-pop fans and see them at the shows that we filmed was really eye-opening for me because these people are meeting online and then meeting in person at these shows, and it's a really community building experience. They're there for the entertainment and for the love that they have for their idols, but at the same time, they're building a community themselves that extends well past the actual concert. And that was something that I didn't quite know going into it. And like, there's a moment in the series where, we see one of our characters, Jessi, going through a really an emotional experience on stage. And it's the fans that are lifting her in that moment. And that's something that I think I want, those who don't know the world, but also K-pop fans who are really familiar with this to understand, like, that's their relationship with these idols, and that seems like it's a bit deeper or much deeper than I've experienced in kind of bands I've seen in the US.
No,
Yeah,
no.
I've heard it a few times in the show, like it's so hard, but I don't want to let the fans down. That kind of sentiment from them. And it's a lot of pressure. I imagine, I mean, for me, I'd probably feel the same watching any young person train at a high competitive level in any field, sports, music, whatever. But for me, there is kind of something, it approaches this line of something uncomfortable to me where it's like I feel bad for these girls. There might be not exploitation per se, but just like there's a power disbalance between the company and the girls or the boys. Did you ever feel that way filming it? Like that there was some sort of that you were approaching that line?
I mean, I'll start off, Jack. If yeah, for me, and K-pop idols say this to me all the time, and trainees as well. I was actually just with a group of trainees today that are going to debut early next year, and they make a choice at an early age. They want to do this. They want to achieve fame. They're after the glory. They want to perform on stage and be adored by by fans around the world. I mean, so it is dichotomy in terms of like the company where it is a business, but it's also these kids that have given up so much to achieve their dream. And so there is this very interesting relationship between the company and the trainees and the artists, where they're both on the same team, right? But these artists have to endure this marathon, right? That just goes on and on and on. And there's no guarantee that you're ever even going to debut as a trainee. Like Jiyoung, the kid that we follow at Starship, maybe he'll make it into the next boy group that Starship's going to launch. We don't know. He's also getting to that point where he might be aging out soon of the idol system, and he's too old to debut, but he's been a trainee for years. So it's like, in terms of like, for me, nobody is in this system that doesn't want to be there. And if somebody says, I want out, a company's not going to keep somebody who says I want out because it doesn't make sense for that company to keep that person, you know. But it is just a an amazing human story about determination and sacrifice and what these young kids, some of them are, 14, 15 years old, what they're willing to give up in order to do it. And, they do also have the support of their families behind the scenes, obviously. So the families are supportive of this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the same
Yeah.
time, I didn't see like dance moms pushing them, and it's
Right, exactly,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I
yeah,
haven't seen much of that, honestly,
yeah,
myself.
yeah. Well, yeah, they're all very impressive people, impressive show. I appreciate you both discussing it.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thanks,
for your
Matt.
time.
Have a
Nice
good
to
one,
meet
guys.
you.
Appreciate it.
Likewise.
Yeah.